inside your mind where thoughts divide and mysteries unwind. Join us every Monday evening right here on Revolution Radio at freedomslips.com from 8 to 10 p.m. Eastern Time. And you will catch the Fenton Perspective with our great host, Lorian Fenton. Come listen in as she shares her amazing stories from the past to present, along with all of her guest secrets to the future. That's the Fenton Perspective every Monday evening right here from 8 to 10 p.m. Eastern Time, only on Revolution Radio. Oh, and you don't need to expect us. We're already here.
Extendivite really works. Just listen to what some people have to say.
Several years ago, I was developing a very severe situation. I called it my flippy heart. It was doing not good things, and I did not want to go to a medical doctor because I just knew they would give me a cover-up pill. I didn't want to get onto that sort of thing at all. When I learned it was garlic and cayenne, and cayenne is a healer. It is a wonderful herb. I said, I think I'm onto something here. I'll tell you, I wouldn't be without it. It did wonderful things for me.
Extendivite is only $69.95 for a 2-month supply of either capsules or liquid. Call now. That's 1-877-928-8822 or visit heartdrop.com.
Extend your life with Extendovite.
The opinions expressed on this radio station, its programs, and its website by the hosts, guests, and call-in listeners or chatters are solely the opinions of the original source who expressed them. They do not necessarily represent the opinions of Revolution Radio and freedomslips.com, its staff, or affiliates. You're listening to Revolution Radio, freedomslips.com, 100% listener-supported radio, and now we return you to your host.
Aloha, everybody, and welcome to Stargate to the Cosmos. And I'm your host, Janet Kara Lessin. And my co-host is Dr. Sasha Alex Lessin, and my producer is Thomas Becker, also known as Amadpainter. And you're listening to Revolution Radio, Studio B. And our guest today is Sev Tok. And millions of people are having ET contact and don't even know it. And are you one of them? So Sev Tok is coming out about her lifelong ET contact. On this show, she'll explain the fundamentals of ET contact, how it fits in with your life purpose, and how to safely talk with ETs. She has a new book called You Have the Right to Talk to Aliens. And this is about her coming out, is her coming out about her ET contact since childhood. Sev is divulging her lifelong secret to help millions of people who are having ET contact, many of whom don't even know it. She was born in Istanbul, Turkey, and she came to America as a little girl. Her ET contact started in elementary school and continued for decades. She kept her ET experiences secret for 45 years until 2017, when Grace marked her with the red X. This catapulted Sev into an emotional journey of discovery about who she is, who we are, and our role in the intergalactic neighborhood. So I have more on Sev and her book cover and some pictures on aquarianradio.com. I do invite you to go over there and look at her information. So before we bring on Sev, I want to say hi to Dr. Sasha Alex Lessin, my beloved. Are you there, sweetheart? Unmute. Uh-oh. Can you hear me? Amadpainter, can you hear me?
Oh, yeah, we're on. You're good.
Sasha, what's going on with you? All right. Anyway, we'll bring on Sev. Hi, Sev. How you doing?
Hello again. Hello to you and all your listeners.
Yeah, I went to meet my husband, Dr. Sasha Lessin. I'm not sure what's going on. Maybe he'll come in here if he can't figure out. But Well, we just had him live a second ago.
Yeah.
This is a whole new audience from the other show that we did a couple weeks ago. And so we're going to start over.
Okay.
And he's here and he can't figure out how to get on. Okay, I'm going to put him on these headphones. So say hi to Sasha, and Sasha say hi to Sev. And Sev is going to start telling your story. So you listen, and I'll go see if I can figure out the other computer.
Aloha. Am I on the radio now?
Yes, you are live.
Hi, Sasha. Okay.
Okay. Yeah. So sort of. You're in and out. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. So the listener, what's really important at a really big level is that you honor your own perceptions, and you have an aware ego or a witness, and Sev demonstrates that, which very strongly, that what you say and what you keep private depends on your assessment of the situation and whether you're going to get clobbered or admired or neutral for what you say. It's always a consideration of all human beings. And so one of the things that Janet and Mufon and others are saying is, there's a space for everybody's way of perceiving and whatever they perceive. And a lot of us are having genes that are opening up as the circumstances say it's safe to come out now. It's time to come out now. It's time to share your mission. So as you listen to Sev's story, realize that you probably have something very unique and very special to share too. Okay, take it away. Whatever Janet told you to do, Sev.
All righty. That was really wonderful what you said, Sasha. It is along the lines with a message that I received a few months ago. So I've been in contact with the Greys, and I've also been in contact with these beings, and I call them the blue people because they're predominantly blue. And they came to me when I was wide awake in my living room, and they appeared in these swirling prisms of color, like looking through a kaleidoscope. So it's really hard to draw them. You can't really draw them because they're constantly changing. And extremely, extremely loving. And they were talking to me about activating your potential and activating genes, and how frequency and vibration and awareness are the ways to activate these genes and these potentials these energy packets is how they call them, that we have in the body. And they had told me a little bit about Tesla and Tchaikovsky and Disney. And they said that when you listen to Tchaikovsky's music, and this was a quote, they said, "It is a personal mental uncoding and a true vibratory release of potential." And Tchaikovsky is my favorite since I was a little girl, and it is no coincidence that one of Disney's most famous movies, Fantasia, is Tchaikovsky music. And I was told that Disney and Tesla had met, and that all three of those men were actually in communication with these beings that I call the blue. And they were channeling messages and channeling awareness and consciousness, and each one was putting forth their information into the world in a different way.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Fascinating.
Mm-hmm.
So that I guess the next step is, usually when Greys consistently call on someone, it's because you're a relative.
I'm a relative to the Greys.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You got it. Yeah. It's like, you're that you are one of them, and they feel good with you, and you've built up a relationship of trust, and you've got a mission, and it's to assist both their species and ours.
Yes, I did learn that. In the beginning, I didn't know that, Sasha. In the beginning, I was very, very afraid of them. And in the beginning, it's been decades, and it really isn't until recently that I realized that the fear. I had such a fear of them, and I didn't want anything to do with them. And every time I had contact with them, I was upset. I wanted them to leave me alone. I thought they were bad. Now I have a complete 180-degree viewpoint. I believe that they were coming to help me. I believe they were coming to help activate my mission. And I went from fearing them to loving them. And what really did it was an experience that I had in September 2017. So it wasn't very long ago. It was the contact that I made that really changed my life because it made me come out. And we had just moved here to the inner banks of North Carolina. We live on the water. We had just moved here from Capitol Hill, Washington, D.C. And it was my second night here that I came in contact with the Greys. And in the morning, I was in my kitchen unpacking dishes. And it felt like something bit my butt, like a bug bit my butt, my left butt cheek. So it hurt. So I yelled over to my boyfriend, Patrick, will you take a look at my butt? I think a bug bit me. And he was sure. So I walk over to the living room and I bend over and he's not saying anything. And there's just silence. And I'm starting to get nervous. And I said, well, did a bug bite me? And he said, yeah, and you also have a red X. And he took a picture of it, and there was a red X. I have a picture of it in my book and on my website.
How big is it?
It's a little over an inch wide, and it's made up of 9 small red circles, and it looks exactly like X. And when I saw that X, I was absolutely stunned. And I was also mad. I knew it was the Greys. I'm like, why? They got me. Moved all the way over here in the country, and they got me again. And I told myself, I'm just going to ignore it. I'm just going to try and ignore it like all incidents. I'm just going to try and ignore it. Well, 9 days later, I came to in my bedroom with a very, very, very vivid conscious memory of having been lying on my side in a bed that resembled a hospital bed. And I couldn't move my arms and I couldn't move my legs. And I was in a room that felt very sterile. There was hardly any furniture in it. And I could feel there was something behind me and I could move my head. So I turned around and I came face to face, eyeball to eyeball with a Grey. And he was doing something to my back. And I described in the book that looking into his eyes was like looking into 2 pools of black oil. And I turned back around and I was scared to death. And it didn't say anything to me. In all my other encounters with the Greys, they gave me information, but this one said nothing. And it wasn't mean and it wasn't nice. It was totally neutral, but I was still scared to death. And then my eyes popped open. I'm back in my bedroom. And I'm very worried that there's another X on me. So I go downstairs. So my boyfriend was still sleeping. I have a cup of coffee. And there was something else that I knew that I had never known in any of my other travels. I just knew I was on the moon. I was in a room on the moon. So Patrick comes downstairs and I start to interrogate him. Patrick, was I gone from the room at all last night? No. Did I get up in the middle of the night? No. Are you sure I was there the whole time? Yes. And then he knew something was up. So I told him what I remembered and I said, check my butt. And there's another zip on the other cheek, just like the first one. And that one, I'm sitting here thinking about it and I still get that chill that goes down my body of how afraid I was and confused I was. I'm like, why are they messing with me? Well, what do they want from me? I wish they'd just leave me alone. And I started to cry and I said, I need help. I can't go through this alone anymore. I can't pretend like nothing's happening anymore. I have 2 red X's on my hiney. I have got to figure out what's going on. So, shortly after that, I was watching the movie Unacknowledged by Dr. Stephen Greer. My girlfriend, she's one of my friends, she lives on Maui. I have a couple of best friends that live on Maui. And after I watched that movie, it like lit a fire in me. So I went to the computer and I just told myself, I have to find someone to help me. And I heard the word MUFON in my head, so I went on the MUFON website and I found Kathleen Martin. And I told myself, she's the one. She's gonna help. So I sent her a picture of the X and a short email, and she responded 2 or 3 days later, much to my delight. And we Skyped for about an hour and a half, and she was so helpful to me and so validating. That was a life-changing conversation, and the time she spent with me, she's a busy lady. And for some of us, if we don't know, Kathleen Martin is the director of experience research at MUFON, and she's also the niece of Betty Cornhill, the most famous abduction case. And she's also written many other books. She has a new one that just came out, something about what to do when you've been abducted. I think it just came out today or yesterday. And she helped me realize I wasn't going insane and it was for real, and I didn't know what I was going to do. So I'm like, I don't know. I have these visions in my head, like in my third eye, I see myself standing on a stage, talking to people. What am I supposed to do, Kathleen? She goes, I can't tell you, Sev. You got to figure that out on your own. Shortly after that, I woke up one morning and I decided I'm writing a book. And I wrote my book, You Have the Right to Talk to Aliens, about how I hid this for most of my life and how that cost me a lot of peace. And how I talk about several of my other ET contacts and how...
Well, let's stay with this one. What did you find out about this significance of them mutilating your gluteus? What was with that particular area?
And can you guys hear me while we're laughing? Can you hear me? I think I got on. Okay, good.
Yeah. Okay,
so you have.
I'm gonna go back to my own place and give you your place, Janet.
Okay, we'll switch. Keep talking.
All right, no one's quite said mutilated my gluteus before, so that's pretty funny. Well,
thank you.
Yeah, it wasn't until later I realized that I came here I have a mission, and I'm engaged in my mission, and my mission is to help experiencers, and I'll talk a little bit about that, and also just to spread the word that we are not alone, and millions of us are having contact. And some of us don't know it because it happens in what we call a dream state, but it's not really a dream state, and I'll get back to that. I really believe that we take as much as we can handle. And I wasn't listening to them. They had left all kinds of marks on my bodies. They had given me all kinds of information. I had met them many times, the Greys, and I was just like, it isn't enough. I don't believe you. This is all in my mind. And I needed something that was going to be undeniably not a dream. Because a dream doesn't leave 2 red X's behind. And that's when I learned that I have with their higher self. They have agreement with my higher self, and that I came here to talk, and I needed like this ultimate example. And I believe that's why I have those 2 red X's on my back, because they made me wake up.
Makes sense to me. Stigmata.
On the ass. Okay.
Yeah.
On the gluteus.
Okay, I can't say the A word. All right.
Sure. Yeah, certainly can. Yeah, that's what they wrote on in the old days. But anyway, it's really interesting if there's some even deeper memories, I'll bet, if you would let yourself identify with that your body and see what your gluteus has to say about why me.
Oh, well, Sasha, I have inquired, but I never specifically asked my hiney what it thought. So
it has its own consciousness.
Oh my God.
It definitely has its own consciousness.
Okay, no one's ever suggested that before. All right. I'm going to have that discussion. I'll let you know what it says.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Now, have you done hypnosis on that episode?
I did hypnosis after what happened in Roswell, because I had something interesting happen in Roswell, New Mexico. And it kind of knocked me for a loop. It really messed with my life.
Do tell.
Okay. All right. So this was November 2016, and there were a few things that happened like back to back that were UFO related. I met some UFO related people. I was getting UFO related information just like one after another after another. It was like this build up. And then my boyfriend, who was living on the island of Kauai for a year, so I went back and forth from Capitol Hill to Kauai. It was his last year of work. And he calls me just up out of the blue and he says, I have to go to White Sands Missile Range for work. Why don't you fly to El Paso? I'll pick you up. I'll show you White Sands and I'll take you to Roswell, New Mexico, which is like a dream come true. He knew that I've been wanting to go there since I was a little girl, because I've known about the crash since I was a little girl. So we went to the White Sands Missile Range, which all the hairs on the back of my neck stood up. It's a horrible place. I couldn't stand it. I couldn't wait to get out of there fast enough. So we go to Roswell, and we get there during the day, and we had fun at the museum, and we're tired, and we go back to our room, which is right in Roswell, and I'm sitting on the bed, and Patrick's in the bathroom, and I'm flicking through the channels with the remote control. And as I'm flicking through, I think to myself, I wish the show People of Earth were on. And that's a show that I liked very much that Conan O'Brien produces. It's a comedic take on, experiencers. So I knew that the last one had already aired and it wasn't on, but I was just thinking, I wish it would come on. My boyfriend hadn't seen it yet. So my boyfriend comes out of the bathroom. I stop the television on the commercial. He says what he has to say. And then all of a sudden, People of Earth comes on the television. And I'm like, whoa, all right. I get like a chill. And I go, come on, Patrick, it's on. Let's watch it. So we watched a couple episodes. He liked it. We laughed. I went to sleep. And the next thing I remember, my eyes pop open and the room is pitch black. I can see nothing, but I hear footsteps. And then I feel Patrick get back into the bed. And I think to myself, what was Patrick doing on the couch? Was it because of the aliens? And I go back to sleep. So I get up in the morning, and Patrick's in the shower. And as I'm sitting in the bed, I'm like, why did I think he was sitting on the couch? First of all, it was pitch black. I had no idea. And he never sits on the couch in the middle of the night. Why did I think it had to do with the aliens? Then all of a sudden, like a movie in my mind's eye, it all comes back. It comes back really fast. I was sitting with a group of them, and they were telling me about the hybridization program and why they're having it and what they're looking for. And they remind me of an incident where they showed me a baby in a tube. And all this information is just coming really fast. And then Patrick comes out of the bathroom, and I'm like, did you get up in the night? And he goes, yeah. And I said, did you sit on the couch? And he goes, yeah. And I go, why? He said, well, now my boyfriend's extremely logical, super duper duper logical. He says, this isn't going to make any sense, but there was something in here looking it up. And I can't describe it, and I don't know what it was, and it wouldn't go away. So I just got up and sat on the couch, and he just tossed and turned in the bed. I'm like, whew, okay, well, let me tell you what happened. We had an encounter. And they were also talking to me about a book, and I didn't know what book they were talking about at that time. Now I realize it's the book that I wrote last summer. Yeah. So the information they gave me about the hybridization program. There are billions of people that are involved in it. Some know, some don't know. what they're looking for from the humans is the ability to emote, sympathy, empathy, love. That's really what they're looking for. Also with certain people, they're also looking for, this isn't with everybody, but with some people, those that might have a little advanced paranormal abilities or psychic abilities, which we all have. We all have that. And then they reminded me of what they showed me a couple of years prior in Baltimore. There was a baby in a tube, and we were in a black room, and I was looking at this baby in a tube, and I turned around, and there were 3 grays behind me, tall, medium, and short. And they were really nice. They were saying, take your time, we're giving you your space to look at this baby in the tube. I didn't know why I was looking at it. I felt nothing for it. It had the bluest eyes I've ever seen. And so they told me that I am part of this hybridization program too, as millions of us are. And there are billions of these embryonic state hybrids. Some are becoming children and adults, but most of them are not yet. And they're being kind of held in a holding if the human race decides to annihilate itself. I'm not saying that we are, but we could. If we do that, then these frozen embryos or these embryos that are in this stage will then be used to reseed our planet.
Wow. It's interesting that down certain timelines, if you can imagine that's in one timeline, that's what happens, and if you can imagine that not happening, that's another timeline. Janet had a very similar kind of thought as to the one that you just had, that it could go either way.
Yes. So we're talking about parallel realities, multiverses. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yes. I was shown 24 of them, and they were down to the apocalyptic where the whole planet blew up, all the way over to utopia. Yeah, and then everything in between. So they asked me, which one do I want to choose?
Wow.
So I mean, anybody can choose. We're all choosers. I'm nothing special. We can choose where we go in a continuum. And then our group choice. I think probably we go down different timelines. If you choose
all the time.
to die with the planet, then you'll die with the planet. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I do.
Go ahead. Back to you.
I believe with every single choice we make, we pop into another reality. So there is a reality of me where I never left my first husband. And that's still existing. That version of me still lives.
Yes, exactly.
The choice that I made to leave him then plopped me into another reality. And with every choice I make, and all day long, I'm plopped into various realities. And some people come along with me and some people don't.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And it's also, if you look at, time as just being a function of our particular structure of our intellect, then you've already died and not been born and are in other places all at the same time.
Yeah.
And people that are as you and Jan and other people like you open up, more and more of those become accessible. And the ones that come to your consciousness are most salient, are the ones that are most meaningful for what your current need is. And your needs are obviously being motivated by this sort of higher aspiration to find peace for two peoples, and it's so inspiring.
Yes, that's a really good way to put it. Because we have access to all of our lives. But why do some of us align with certain lives, or we call them past lives, but they're not happening in the past? So why do some of us align with certain consciousnesses more than others?
Well, I think that, if it's a synchronistic universe where everything is part of a divine plan, all of our parts are parts of a great plan, and we just do our part, and things are as they should be. Dig it.
Yeah. Did you say dig it?
Yeah.
Yeah. He's an old hippie. Dig it.
I'm digging it. Okay.
Well, if you're choosing it, you're choosing it. So, instead of playing victim, go, okay, there's some reason I'm choosing this. And then you can switch timelines and go to another variation on the theme. Otherwise, you're just victim.
And that's what I did. That is how I shifted my fear from the Greys to loving them. When I got rid of my victimization vibe, because I played the victim really well. I was in 2 abusive relationships, and I was in other relationships where I was choosing to be the victim. And it's not until I left my second husband where I looked at myself really for the first time, like, what am I doing? Why do I keep attracting the same type of person that's abusive? There's something within me. So I started that introspective work, and it took me a while. It's not easy work. It's hard, but it is so well worth it. And I shed that victimization vibe, and that's when it became crystal clear that the Greys weren't abusing me. I assumed they were abusing me too, because I was looking through my victim lens at them. I'm like, my husband's abused me, the Greys abused me, everybody abuses me, why not? And then I'm like, no, because I'm not wearing those glasses anymore. That's not what was happening.
Oh, that's beautiful. And that's the larger thing. There is no other. It's a false separation that there is another. And so, whatever it is that, you didn't like in your, in your first husband that you're calling the abuser part, that means that you have a shadow abuser that was abusing yourself. And once you realize, I'm victimizing myself, that means you're free of it. It's no longer running you. And it's just, that is the growth process for individuals and for all levels of consciousness, actually.
Yes, it's one of the biggest issues with my clients is this victimization. And it doesn't just manifest in an abusive marriage. There's all kinds of ways you can victimize yourself. And, for instance, the self-definitions you give yourself. Like, I am kind, I am nice, I am fair, and you're going to force yourself to stay in, these certain parameters. Even giving ourselves these type of definitions is a form of victimization too. So it's on many, 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 many levels. And it's really the biggest issue that I help my clients with. They're just helping them get rid of that victimization vibe, so they can breathe and they can activate their potential.
Beautiful, beautiful. It's it's a really way to get a handle on it is to think about what you judge in others. Specific others like your sister, or just people who will do this and that and the other thing, and that's the disowned personality part. And so that the part of you that's in charge has to say, hey, there must be some part of me deep inside that's resonating with that, and I can't stand this person because I don't want that part of me to come out, or I overly admire them and because I don't think I can bring that, my inner artist or whatever it is. So it's whatever you think you ain't is what you are once you can have that too.
Yeah. Yes. And I understand what you're saying, and that really is almost like a magical key, what you just said, when you are aware of that and you conscious, and that when you are having a talk with somebody or a relationship with somebody, that you can step back and look at it through the lens of what you just said. It's very freeing.
It sounds like you got a great relationship too, and that helps a lot.
With who? Me? With the
Patrick, yeah.
Oh, with Patrick. Yes. It's interesting because he's so logical, man. And what I'm talking about really goes beyond logic. I can't prove a lot of what I'm saying. It's not like it's, some things can be proven through quantum physics and the laws of quantum physics. But not everything. Like, to me, the red X's on my butt, to me, that's proof. Like, I didn't burn red X's in my butt. My boyfriend didn't do it. I have a conscious awareness of coming face to face, eyeball to eyeball with a gray. I'm like, here it is, folks. Like, it's right here. But some people, even that isn't enough. And I'm not here to change anybody's mind I'm here just to give information, and for anyone who's aligned with this information, I'm here to help. But I'm definitely not here to change anyone's mind.
Hey, where do you practice? I'm going to send people to you.
Oh, thank you so much. I do my sessions via Skype or FaceTime or Zoom. Right now I live on the inner banks of North Carolina. I do them in person too. I have clients all over the world. I've done thousands of what I call soul sessions. And my website, planetsev.com, has information on all the different sessions.
Wow, thank you.
Thank you.
Janet. Are you with us, Janet?
No.
She's probably muted.
Oh, she's muted.
Yes, I'm here. I'm muted. Okay. So you went to White Sands, and you didn't like that. And then where did we go after that? I kind of got
Roswell.
Where did we go after that?
And I went to Roswell.
And then you went to Roswell. And
and that's when
you had the incident with the.
That's why I needed hypnosis. Because what I remembered with the Greys, I knew was only part of the picture. I needed to know more. Like, it kind of messed me up. So I heard about Diane Kensler, who is many things, an energy healer and a nurse. And one of the things she does is regression therapy, and she has practice with experiencers. And she's in Luray, Virginia, and she also does them online. And she was a huge help. I went to her. I had over an hour-long regression with her, and a lot came up. And so I've gone under once to get more information on that one particular event that happened in Roswell. And I suggest it to anyone who thinks they've had contact. There's lots of ways, contact can happen in a multidimensional way. Most ET contact does happen in a multidimensional way. It's not really clear cut, like you're in a car driving down the road and all of a sudden there's a UFO in front of you, or you're hiking and then, there's a beam of light comes and takes you up. A lot of times it happens when we are in a so-called dream state, or also when we're wide awake too, in meditation and in other things. And because we travel and we have experiences at night, we label everything as a dream, and not everything is a dream. Some things are just dreams, but some things are really legitimate travels where you go through time portals and you connect with other beings, ETs and other beings in other dimensions, and those are real. And, if you have a so-called dream where you can't shake it for years and years and years and years, and you're like, I know that's real, or you have marks on your body. These are all signs that this was a legitimate experience. And it's important to know why it happened. Having ET contact is remarkable. There's so much to learn. There's so much to learn that can help you with your life. And so that's why I have a free forum on my website called ET Encounters, where if you've had an ET contact and you need some help understanding it, you just write me, tell me your story. I protect your privacy, and I'll respond to you, and I'll help you. I'll help you understand it. And then I share parts of the stories, just a little part, still in a very anonymous fashion, on my True ET Stories page on my website, because I think it's important to share a little bit so other people will see, oh my gosh, I'm not the only one. There's so many people around the world having these experiences. Makes you feel comfortable and makes you want to maybe feel a little safer in coming out. You don't have to come out to everybody, but it's important you come out to yourself, because I help my clients walk the path of authenticity. It's important to be the most authentic version you can be. And for me, that included facing the facts with my ET contact. That's not for everybody, but that was on my path of authenticity. But it is also on the path of others. And so we need to face these head on. Don't be afraid. Say, yes, I've made ET contact. This is what I've learned from it. This is how it's going to benefit me for the rest of my life. And that's what I hope people do. And that's free.
Beautiful.
That's wonderful.
Thank you.
Now, are you getting like hundreds of people, or just, you know, an occasional person? What type of response are you getting to this?
Oh my gosh, yes, hundreds from all over the world. Having a hard time keeping up with sharing some of the stories. I really need to set a day in the coming days to update and send and include pictures with some of these stories. They're really fascinating, and with all kinds of beings. And the information that is being shared is just beautiful information. I really do encourage people to read about other people's encounters. It's very, very therapeutic.
Yes, it is. And
your drawings are a big help,
like
too.
Said, come out.
Yeah.
Did you do those drawings? They really help.
With my encounters?
Yeah.
Yeah, I did those.
Those are really useful in jogging people's memories, actually.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So when someone comes to you, well, first of all, we should finish your story. What are the other critical incidences in your personal story that you want to convey to our listeners?
With respect to the Greys, I think I discussed the major ones with the Greys. I started having ET contact at 10 years old. That's the earliest I remember. And I continued for a couple years, but that wasn't with a Grey. That was with another being that would come and visit me in a spaceship. And it always came from a different direction, and I was always so excited to see it. And this being would come out of the spaceship that looked very much like a human. It was slightly different. Its ears were different. I just had a different energy to it. And it was like a big brother. I was so happy. And it would come to just check up on me. And this was happening in 5th and 6th grade. And so I would have this incident. I'd end up pop back into my bedroom, and then I have to get ready and go to school, 5th grade. And I didn't say anything to anybody. I could have said something to my parents because they're very much believers, but I still didn't say anything. And I held it inside of me for decades. And so the book that I wrote last summer, You Have the Right to Talk to Aliens, is about my struggle of hiding it and how I suggest that you don't hide it, and that to allow the most truthful version of you to express itself. And that means facing some hurdles of what you've been lying to yourself about, because we've all been lying about stuff to ourselves. And so
what were you fearing when you didn't tell your parents and you knew they were somewhat safe to say unusual things to them? What were you, when you look inside, what were you fearing? What was your hesitancy about telling them your authentic self?
Because
what was going on?
I wasn't convinced that it was real. And because when I heard other people talking about ETs and other beings, everyone would just laugh about it and joke about it. It was hard for me to believe that it was real. And so I didn't want my parents to think that I was having a dream and I was like making a big deal out of it. Or that I didn't want them to think that I'm saying that this ET's coming to visit me because I'm something special or anything like that. And so that was the struggle for most of my life, just to hide it, just to come to terms with if it's real or not. That's when I got the X's, and that's when I knew.
Well, what would happen if you were special?
We're all special.
Right, but would your parents say, what do you think you are, special? I mean, what's the fear of being special?
My parents, they would say you are special.
My parents would have said that.
Yeah.
My parents might say that. They might say, who do you think you are, Jesus Christ? I was like, okay, well. Anyway.
I didn't want to, look, I was a foreigner. I was born in Istanbul, and when I started 6th grade, I didn't know English. And so I just wanted to fit in so badly. I wanted to be so American. I just wanted to be like everybody else. And so all of these I was having out-of-body experiences at 10 years old. I was just like, I'm not sharing this with anybody because I want to be like a normal American. You know, a normal American wants to be at 10 years old. I was like, I want to be one of them.
That's understandable. Yeah. All right. So you, anything else you want to, that's really critical? Did you learn on board ship or are you still having contact? What's that like? Yeah. Let's stay with your story a little bit here in the first hour.
I'm still having contact. Yes. I actually had an interesting contact just a few months ago in March, where it was a shared experience with my friend who lives in Florida. I live in North Carolina. She was in Florida. And we were taken the same night, and we saw the same beings, and we had like the same scratches on our arms. And the beings that we saw, and this is a little different. We saw this smaller white being that looked almost like a walking light bulb. And then we saw this small four-legged being. It looked just like a white dog. And she saw it too. And then also there were these, what I call the blue people. And since then we've discovered that these blue beings and these small white glowy beings and these four-legged white dog-like beings are interrelated, and they're actually different forms of each other. Like the little white, four-legged white dog-like creature is young, and then it becomes this white, small, short, like light bulb-like creature, and then it turns into these tall blue ones. There was one other person who's seen this. From North Carolina as well, Chris Bledsoe. Have you heard of Chris Bledsoe?
Oh, yes, I've heard of Chris. Yeah, I'd love Chris, if you're listening, come on our show. I've been scheduled, but it never quite happens. And then I forget.
Okay.
Go ahead.
In touch. And he's the only other person who's seen these three beings together. The four-legged being, the short white being, and the tall blue one. And I find that interesting because I did not know of anyone else that's seen these three beings together.
It sounds a little bit like the crew from the Sphere beings that Sala talks about, that Corey Good and those guys were dealing with.
Is there a white dog?
No, they don't mention a dog, but this whole idea of teams, of being in a coherent field, working together. It's not. No, I don't think it's the same group, but it's this. There's something very similar about these things, about a group that has it's like they have the combined mind power of all of them together.
I do believe the Greys work with various groups of beings. They're like an intermediary.
Wow. So what? And the emotion that you feel when you meet this crew sounds like it's a really happy one.
With the blue people.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's very loving and very kind. We're still determining exactly. To us, it's very interesting their metamorphosis. When Jenna was on a spaceship, the night that we were both taken together, we call it the white dog encounter. And I actually I made a video about it. I have a YouTube channel called Alien Spirit TV, and I have videos there where I explain my contact, and I also have other videos on there. For instance, I just did a review of the hit TV show Stranger Things. And I did it reviewing how the show portrays the paranormal. And I just did that one last week. That was fun. And I have another one. I started a series of 10 ways to activate your ascension. And I did the first one, which is about hearing. And the information from that is some information that I received from the blues about these energy packets that we have inside of ourselves that changes our genetics, it changes our DNA, and that they are activated by frequency. And that's when they told me about Tchaikovsky's music it activates these energy packets within us to help us actualize our potential.
Wow.
So Yes.
Oh, I just would like you to know what's the strongest piece? Is it the same for everyone? Because I really like Tchaikovsky too, and I listen to especially his ballets all the time.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I've been drawn to him ever since I was a little girl. And the movie Fantasia is just an extraordinary piece on many levels. Disney was absolutely a channeler. He was really remarkable what he did and the energy that he channeled and brought forth onto this planet. So it's love. A lot of these very famous people know more than they're letting on, but they are putting forth energy in various ways. Some do it by writing, some do it through music, some do it through acting. There's so many various ways of doing it, making movies. They're not really telling us that they're channeling. They're not really telling us that they saw ETs or anywhere, but they're sharing with us the information, and they're becoming what the products that they're creating are becoming mega hits, blockbusters. Some of the music, all of it. But if you listen closely, you'll know. You can tell who's had experience. You can tell who knows something. Mm-hmm. Right?
It seems like a really great experiment would be to play Fantasia with great volume and a good surround system. If you were going to do deep all kinds of entheogenic or deep hypnosis work with that music really going. I think that and to have several people exposed to that same stimuli and see what would you each come up with and draw something right after you've had the experience.
Yes. That sounds very intriguing.
Wow. Thank you. I'm going to try it anyway.
Let me know.
Yes. Well, that's the other thing. Like, there's so many people that are having these encounters, and some of them feel traumatized, and some of them feel happy about it. So,
yeah, some of them do feel.
What percentage of your clients feel traumatized, and what percentage feels happy about it?
Well, with respect to the experiences who've come to me, I would say...
Yes, your clients.
I would say 50-50. I'm really impressed with how some of them are dealing with it really, really well. It's about 50-50. And even though they're dealing with it well, they still want someone to talk to about it. They still kind of want to get it off their chest. And so that's what I'm trying to do, is just provide some validation and love and support. And then with some of the experiences that have come to me, they've gotten to the point where they're comfortable enough now to be interviewed, go on a radio show and talk about it. So that's part of their progress, which makes me really happy.
Oh, please send them my way. I'd love to interview them.
Those
who are ready. I don't want anybody that's not ready, but those who are ready, we'd love to interview you. But go ahead, honey, your turn.
Well, just that it's definitely part of the therapeutic process, that once you get a handle on your own nonsense and own your own disowned parts as being parts of you and so forth, the next thing, instead of just talking about yourself, is helping other people. And that gives you a level of distance because you see them struggling with what you have just gone through, and now you're another step back and you get even more perspective. So I think that's where it goes. Your clients are now teaching other people. It's reach one, teach one. That's the system that Fidel brought over from Czechoslovakia and used to educate all the children of Cuba. It's a wonderful system.
Mm-hmm.
So we're coming up on our break in 2 minutes. So, but I think it'd be good to, wherever you want to go, we'll follow your lead. But to expand upon, like the negative experience clients and the positive experience clients, and how you work with the different people. Because a lot of people are coming out of the closet and they're starting to have these experiences.
Yeah.
And I think whatever we share here will help. I mean, because not everybody has access to a hypnotherapist, right? Or to so if we can help people deal with it, that'll be good. All right. So, Sasha, any comments or questions before we go to our break?
During the break, we will each have an inspiration of something that would really be hot to share.
Yes. And after the break, what are some of the things that you want to cover, Sev?
Well, like you said, some of the reasons why some people are afraid, I'd like to talk about that. And also, I have an event coming up where I'm giving a talk. I'd like to talk about that a little bit. And also, something interesting is happening where our spirituality and our beliefs are getting intermeshed with ET, and something new is happening. It's not a religion, but it's like a new thought movement is happening with spirituality and ET. You know what I'm talking about?
That's wonderful. Yeah,
yes,
we'll definitely
it's the
share
dawning
that
of the age of Aquarius.
Oh,
right.
Yeah.
The new awareness, new dawning. Well, we'll cover that after our break, and we still have like a couple seconds. What is your website again, so people can check it out during the break, and maybe they have questions or comments? What's your website? What is your website? Go ahead.
PlanetSev.com.
And that's spelled it SEV?
Yeah, SEV is Victor. Planet Sev.
Alrighty. So I'm not sure what's going on where the music is. We've had a little bit of problem. Are we on the break, Mad? Sometimes we don't know we're on the break.
Not yet. There you go.
Not yet. But now we are. Okay, cool.
That's the break.
Okay, we'll be back in 5 minutes. We'll see you in 5. Thank you.
Radio at freedomslips.com, and we'll be right back after this message.
Wadiya will remain a dictatorship. Or be quiet. Why are you guys so anti-dictators? Imagine if America was a dictatorship. You could let 1% of the people have all the nation's wealth. You could help your rich friends get richer by cutting their taxes and bailing them out when they gamble and lose. You could ignore the needs of the poor for healthcare and education. Your media would appear free, but would secretly be controlled by one person and his family. You could wiretap phones. You could torture foreign prisoners. You could have rigged elections. You could lie about why you go to war. You could fill your prisons with one particular racial group, and no one would complain. You could use the media to scare the people into supporting policies that are against their interests.
Tune in Monday through Friday, 4 p.m. Eastern Time, for Liberation Nation with Deacon John, where America comes to hear the truth.
I know this is hard for you Americans to imagine, but please try.
Ohio Exopolitics will be on from 4 to 6 p.m. Eastern on Studio A. Mark Schneider will have guests on that will discuss many important topics, including the state of the world today. However, much of the show will be dedicated to the writings of Edward Albert Meyer. Let me read a short passage from one of his writings. Love is the highest principle of creation, and through it, everything exists in absolute logic. All of nature in its indescribable splendor is nothing but the love of creation, which is expressed visibly. The love of creation is everywhere, because without it, nothing at all would be able to exist. Please join Mark on Ohio Exopolitics from 4 to 6 p.m. Eastern on Studio A.
It is no secret that the so-called mainstream media is best described as controlled propaganda. Countless news stories are either totally ignored or spun with half-truths, and because of this, essential facts and vital information are often compromised. Join Dr. Ott every Friday night on Studio B at 10 p.m. Eastern and learn why The Story Behind the Story was nominated for a Peabody Award in its second year of producing unparalleled broadcasting excellence in 1997. That is, if you really care about learning the truth.
Transcending time and space, let us take you to the place inside your mind where thoughts divide and mysteries unwind. Join us every Monday evening right here on Revolution Radio at freedomslips.com from 8 to 10 p.m. Eastern Time. And you will catch the Fenton Perspective with our great host, Lorian Fenton. Come listen in as she shares her amazing stories from the past to present, along with all of her guest secrets to the future. That's the Fenton Perspective every Monday evening right here from 8 to 10 p.m. Eastern Time, only on Revolution Radio. Oh, and you don't need to expect us. We're already here.
Extendivite really works. Just listen to what some people have to say.
Several years ago, I was developing a very severe situation. I called it my flippy heart. It just was doing not good things, and I did not want to go to a medical doctor because I just knew they would give me a cover-up pill. I didn't want to get onto that sort of thing at all. When I learned it was garlic and cayenne is a healer. It is a wonderful herb. I said, I think I'm onto something here. I'll tell you, I wouldn't be without it. It did wonderful things for me.
Extendivite is only $69.95 for a 2-month supply of either capsules or liquid. Call now. That's 1-877-928-8822 or visit heartdrop.com.
Extend your life with Extendivite.
The opinions expressed on this radio station, its programs, and its website by the hosts, guests, and call-in listeners or chatters are solely the opinions of the original source who expressed them. They do not necessarily represent the opinions of Revolution Radio and freedomslips.com, its staff, or affiliates. You're listening to Revolution Radio, freedomslips.com, 100% listener-supported radio, and now we return you to your host.
Aloha and welcome back to Stargate and Cosmos, and I'm your host, Janet Carol Lessin, with my co-host, Dr. Sasha Lessin, and we're on Revolution Radio. Our producer is Thomas Becker, also known as Amadpainter, and our guest is Sev Tok, S-E-V-T-O-K. Boy, there's some noise going on. Somebody mute, please. Okay, before we get back to the second half of the show, I'd like to remind everybody to please go over to that donation button on revolution.radio and make a donation, because we really, really, really need your donations to keep bringing you shows like this one. So, Thomas Becker, Amadpainter, do we have any stats on our fundraising?
Not yet. Hawk's still out. He's out of the hospital, but he's not back to work yet.
Okay, I thought I'd just check in. Yeah, well, he had a rough ride, so we forgive him. And we're all sending him thoughts and prayers and love and all that stuff. Oh, my goodness. Poor guy. Alrighty, so, Sasha, are you back?
Yes, can you hear me?
We can hear you, yes.
Oh,
Yay,
yeah.
It's working.
So we're looking forward to, the whole thing about whether in a given event, even a traumatic one, is junk or a blessing. Just depends on your perspective. And the Cherokees say we walk a spiral path, and as we look back on the same events, we do it with more and more mature eyes. And so, even if you might think your experience is a wound, it's the wounding, it's the cracking of your cosmic egg that lets you be chicken out, so to speak.
My husband's a corny comedian. Back to you, Sev.
So, we were talking earlier about the many experiences that have come in touch with me. They've contacted me through my website, planetsev.com, where I have a page on there called ET Encounters, where you can tell me about your story, and where you can also read portions of true ET stories also on my website. I also met a lot of experiences when I was a speaker at AlienCon in Baltimore in 2018. Just a couple weeks after my book debuted on Amazon, I was invited to be a guest speaker at AlienCon, and I loved it. And I met hundreds of experiences there. And it was there that I realized, oh my gosh, people need someone to talk to. Because they would start off their stories by saying, Sev, I've never told anyone this before, but I'm going to tell you. And I could see the relief that they felt. So that's why I'm doing the many experiences, trying to get it off your chest and know that you're not going to be ridiculed, you're going to be supported. And I'm going to help you as much as I can. So I had said probably 50-50 good experiences, 50% bad experiences. So I say that I used to think I had bad experiences, but now they weren't bad. It was because of how I was looking at them, because I was looking at my experiences through the same lens that I was looking at my life. And so because I was choosing to be a victim, I viewed every encounter that I had with an ET that I was the victim again. So just to recap, as soon as I got rid of that vibe, I realized I'm not the victim in any of these ETs, and that my higher self has agreed to this, so there's a reason for this. Another thing it's interesting is
wait, I'd just like to stop with that one a little bit. That's a really very powerful one. That is, if you assume that whatever occurs in your existence, you created it for your growth and evolution. You just assume that. If I made that awful thing happen so I would be a better person and this would be a better world, what am I trying to teach myself?
Yes. And I do speak and write and teach, and my sessions are all about how to gain control so you can create your life to your standards. And that has to do with energy and the laws of quantum physics and those kind of things, which I can talk about a little later, if anyone's interested.
Oh, indeed. We're very interested.
Thank you. I'm going to be giving a talk about it at the end of September. So going back to the experiences, you've had bad experiences. So the first one is, through what lens are you even viewing your life? You know, how are you self-defining yourself? The second thing is, in all of my contacts with the Greys, they were never mean. There were a couple times that were nice and a couple times where they were neutral, but they were never mean. Yet I thought they were son of a bitches. I thought they were bad. I thought they were no good, but they were never mean. And a lot of times they were neutral. And so for some reason, when we come across something that's really neutral, we get afraid. And so that's the other thing I'd like to remind people. If you come across a being that's neutral, you start to feel like you're afraid to step back and go, okay, this being is not being bad to me. It's neutral. We're not used to like totally neutral beings. And that kind of freaks us out.
Yeah, you know, I would say it's very interesting if you want to know what a neutral is like. And it's good to be in touch with it yourself. Imagine you float above yourself and all your little sub-personality parts, and you just see you as a little system. You're detached. You don't give a damn what happens one way or another when you're detached. You're just noticing what is. And we call that the witness. And so that's if you can feel that in yourself, then you won't freak when somebody else, another being is exhibiting it. There is no other. They're showing you a part of yourself. If it freaks you, it's because you haven't come to grips with that part of yourself, which is the spiritual part, really.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Yes. And then also, I would say number 3, the third biggest reason why people get scared is because they don't feel like they're in control. For instance, they don't think that they can actually ask questions or interact, that they're being completely controlled, mind controlled, body controlled, everything controlled. And that is not the case. If you are not being controlled, you always have the control. But sometimes we just don't have the wherewithal in that moment when we're face to face with an ET to think I have the control. Immediately we jump back to, oh my God, this thing has control over me. So for those of us who have regular experiences, maybe we can practice. So we can practice, okay, next time I'm going to ask them a question, or next time I'm going to engage, and not think that that they're calling the shots.
Janet, are you there?
Okay. I'm back. Yeah, I had muted. Sorry, little delayed reaction. So, so people, they think they're out of control, and these are the ones you're describing as negative experiences.
Yeah.
Do you ever encounter the people that have had my labs or the secret space program type experiencers? Okay, tell me how you work with those people.
Oh, well, Janet, I'm coming to grips with my own experiences with that.
Okay, tell us about that. What happened to you? It's always good to start with yourself, and then you can know how you can work with other people. So you're saying you've had some kind of secret space or my lab encounters. You want to describe what happened?
Many MILAB encounters, and I really haven't come out and said very much about them. I've talked very briefly on radio shows about this because I'm still processing it. For instance, as I'm talking to you now, I can feel that, a little bit of fear is running through my body, because some of my experiences were okay and some of my experiences were not okay. They were very upsetting, and that was one experience that I can share with you. I was in a room. It looked like a government office, just very bland. And whenever I'm in these MILAB situations, I'm almost always with these men that look like they're in their 30s, and they have really short hair and just like nondescript clothes on. Like everything's muted in color. And I was shown this big poster, and I actually I drew pictures of what I saw. This big poster that had the flight path of a spaceship on it. And there was this man standing next to me, and he was asking me questions about it. And on the poster there were mathematical equations and physics equations. And he said to me, well, when does the spaceship reach its K point? And I popped out of it. I don't remember what I said. And so I Googled K point, and it's a real thing. And I've read it a few times, and I still don't understand it. Even though I have a biology degree from Loyola, I don't remember studying K point. I don't even understand what K point is. And I told Grant Cameron this story, and he sent me this experience this lady had, where she also was taught about the K point, and she had to draw a diagram of what it is. So, so that was not a bad experience. I do believe that for those of us who are having experiences and are given information that the government knows, and we're kind of debriefed, and sometimes we're debriefed in a respectful manner, and sometimes we are not treated respectfully at all. And, yeah.
Yeah, what I found in our practice is that many times, not 100%, but many times if you're an experiencer, that eventually sometime in there, the military wants to know what you, so they take you and, there's a variety of how you get treated. I guess it depends on the luck of the draw, who you get, what they do, how they treat you. But they want to know what happened. They're aware somehow that we're having experiences and they can track us. And wherever you go, there you are. So you can't really escape them. I've gone across the planet and they know about me, and so they'll take me. Both of them, the military and the extraterrestrials. So, but I think from my experiences, the more I relax, the better the experience. If I don't show fear, then they don't treat me bad. And I don't know if that's across the board, but that's my personal experience. The more I relax with them and laughing and joking and, being a real personality rather than being terrified, the easier it is with them. Go ahead, honey. What were you going to say?
Just the way to start with any other is to admire what they present. And tell them what you admire. And you just start with that. I come in peace. I'm interested in you. I'd like to know about you. And look in their eyes and be yourself. And it's like you are a creature of the universe just like them, and your meeting is not accidental. It's part of divine plan. So use it.
Yes, I agree. Yes, take advantage of it. It's really a remarkable experience. So for it to come into your conscious awareness, there's a reason. And so I kept pushing it back and pushing it back. And my reality manifested in such a way that I was unfulfilled. I was not happy. I started several businesses. I ended several businesses. I had all kinds of jobs. I went through a couple marriages. And this was all because I was hiding the truth down. I just kept shoving it in. Not only about my ET experiences, but just who am I and what am I worthy of?
Yeah. And so that, for someone like you, the trick is to embrace both special and ordinary. They're both there. You don't have to be special all the time. You don't have to be ordinary all the time, but you can choose the context of how much of each of those mixes you're going to have in your mixer board. When you're in a center that can embrace the opposites within you, you can accept the apparent other as a resonant part of you, where you all have fractals of each other within.
Yes, that was nicely put. And so I was talking before the break about, I don't even know what it is. Maybe you two can come up with the word. Is there a word now? I know it's not New Age, but it used to be New Age and spirituality. Is there a new term now that's combining the quantum physics with the knowing of oneness with the ETs?
Well, we could say that you're centered within each of your energy centers and each of the levels of consciousness, and that you're in an ever-expanding awareness that tomorrow will look like a more limited perspective, and it's right now it's taking it as much as you can. We're expanding our coherent fields to include every being. And to realize we're part of everything. And it's just so empowering to realize that. Then what you have to offer to any other creature is you. And you're not afraid of your cat or your dog or your elephant or your horse. So just look at ETs that way. What do you admire about your horse? The horse loves to be admired. That's how it goes.
Mm-hmm. Right. And, just an angel, spirit guide or an angel or a dead person, those are ETs too. So there's all kinds of kinds.
Right. Have you found with your clients that there's no different, or there's similarity between the dead and the extraterrestrials? Because a lot of people have encountered their dead relatives on board ships, that type of thing. Have you encountered any of that in your practice?
No, I have not. No.
You haven't? Okay. Whitley Strieber talked about that at one of the conferences. And so I've been in, some people that come on the show, they've had experiences with the dead, and then they'll have, like when I was a kid, I saw these ghosts, but I think in hindsight, a lot of them were actually ETs. But back in the 50s, I didn't have a word for an extraterrestrial, but we did have Casper the ghost, right? So I just said, well, that's a ghost. Because I'm a little kid trying to explain what's going on to the world. But, yeah. Okay, so you're noticing people that are kind of waking up spiritually. What's some of the symptoms? What are they saying? What are they expressing?
Why am I here? Yeah, that's the first one. It's like all of a sudden I need to know why I'm here, and I need to do it. This intense need to fulfill something, but they don't know what it is that they can fulfill. And so the readings that I do are intuitive readings. They could be 30 minutes or 60 minutes, and we determine what your purpose is and how you can achieve it, and what some mental blocks are that are keeping you from progress or achievement or success. And we talk a lot about the energy that you exude and how it's about the law of alignment, not really the law of attraction. We're not having to attract anything, because quantum physics says the energy of everything is everywhere. So the energy of what you want is literally already inside you. It's to tweak your energy so you align with the energy of what you want, and then it shows up as a reality, manifests as a reality in your life. So I talk a lot about the energy that you exude, how you can tweak the energy that you exude, how you can understand the energy that you exude. You take a look at your life, everything in it, everyone in it is there because it's aligned with a belief system, a belief that you have. And so your thoughts have energy to them, and they're really guiding and creating your life, and you are in control. It's not the other way around. You're in control. You gotta pay attention to what you're thinking, and that's tough. That's hard.
So have you accessed your mission, why you came to the earth? Why you chose to be born?
Yes. And you're helping me complete my mission. Thank you very much.
Well, it's interesting. You said that you saw yourself talking, and your last name is Tok.
Oh, yeah. My name is Turkish. My first name's Sev, means love, and my last name Tok means full. And one of the reasons I call my practice planet Sev is because there actually is a Sev Tok planet and a Sev Tok star system in the Star Wars galactic system. A friend of mine wrote a short story several years ago, and he said he liked my name, and he was going to name a planet after me. And I didn't believe he did. And even in Wikipedia, the Sev Tok star system and planet. And so that's one of the reasons I named my practice planet Sev. The other reason is because I view each one of us as our own planet. We have our own rules and regulations and biosystems and beliefs and everything. And we're all these so unique individual energies just bumping into each other and trying to get along. And it's not always easy. But for those of us who are able to maybe step back a little bit and not concentrate so much on what other people are doing or what other people are saying to us, but instead paying attention to how you're responding, that's really the first step, and I think the easiest step to start the path of introspection, self-introspection.
Beautiful.
So, so tell us a little bit about your mission. You're talking in front of people. Is there more to it than that?
Yeah, it's more than just talking. It's engaging, writing, also in video format. There's all kinds of ways to get the news out, just like you're choosing to do it through the radio and through the sound waves and the airwaves. There's lots of us doing this. We all have our particular ways of being creative, our favorite ways of being creative, and that's how we get the word out. But there's lots of us doing this work.
Great. Sash, questions or comments?
I love what you're doing, and what I sense from the stuff you said is that it's like you're riding a wave. This is a movement. This is a community, a first inchoate, unknown to itself. It's starting to find itself, and where everybody has their own light and perspective to shine. Reality is this elephant, and some of us have it by the leg, and some of us have it by the balls, and we got to get a picture of the whole elephant. And the more that everybody gets to shine their light, the more we see of it.
And you're right, it is a movement. And that's what I was asking earlier. If, Janet and Sasha, if you know a word that describes this movement, like, many years ago, decades ago, it was New Age, which I never really liked that word.
Right.
And
This is it. This is the Satya Yuga, the mini golden age, the age of Aquarius. Enki, it's here, it's now. Ever since December 21st, 2012. Big help is here, and it's not just the Greys. Our Anunnaki friends are here helping us. People from Agartha inside the Earth are here. There are a lot of people that wish us really well, and they're here to help in very concrete ways. And rejoice, dig it.
Yeah. Well, I'm looking at I don't want to label it because it puts it in a box, and I think we're just figuring out who we are. New Age was the last generation's definition of this awakening, and some people want to call it the ascension age, ascension process. I think it will emerge, and it's a good question, and I'm glad you're putting it out there. It's a good question. But I even have a reluctance to box it right yet because it's still figuring itself out. But it's exciting, and part of it is, where do you find the energy when you go to when you went to that conference? You got really excited. I get excited when I go to these conferences because it just seems like a higher vibe and a buzz. And I've had contact at conferences, literally in my hotel room, and I know other people have had contact at this conference. It's like we're inviting that energy in. But if you were at a future pace, what do you think? Where do you think this is going?
This movement?
Yes. How do you envision it unfolding and becoming more structured, maybe, perhaps?
Well, first it's going to be like this, lots of volcanoes erupting, and we can all see that in the United States. We can see it in our political system and also with some societal ills that we have. Everything's erupting, and the ugliness is coming out. And this is just the tip of the iceberg. And this is what has to happen. Is all these little volcanoes have to erupt that have to do with our political system and the corruption and racism and all kinds of issues that we have as Americans that we have not been admitting. That is what's happening now, and that's going to continue. That's the same thing that happens when you do internal, personal introspection. When you walk your path of authenticity, you come across all this shit that you've been hiding inside of you. And it's like you have to face it and then overcome it. So we're doing this personally, and then we're also doing it socially. So it didn't happen.
Right.
It's because of the movement of so many people individually doing it. Then now it's becoming a societal purge. We're all purging. And so the next few years, it's going to be tough, but it's necessary in order to have all of this crap see the light of day. So it's tough.
So it's like order arises from chaos. So you see that we're going to have the perturbation and the meltdown and chaos, but we will restructure at a higher order.
Yeah, because we'll know the truth better. We'll know more of the truth. Mm-hmm. Yes, I do believe.
The truth will emerge, and the truth will set us free. Yeah, I agree. What do you think, Sash?
I think that people can't. I can't see how people can see the suffering of the children at our southern borders and not feel that I will not sit still and let this happen anymore. I've got to do something, and it's the very challenge and the pain that we feel from this stuff that goads us to do something a lot better. That's what I think.
Yes, and that's going to happen on a personal level and collectively. It can't happen collectively if it's not happening on a personal level too, and vice versa.
Right. What do you think we can do individually to facilitate this process?
Fall in love with ourselves, with each person literally with themselves, and honor and hear and listen to their heart. And with that, our message is that sometimes we have to make changes in our current situation, and with that comes fear and worry. But that's the first step, is we have been brainwashed and conditioned not to love ourselves. We were born loving ourselves, and then we were brainwashed and deconditioned not to. So when you fall back in love with yourself, and this does not make you a narcissist or an egomaniac, but it's just honoring yourself and being good to yourself and listening to what your heart wants for you, and then creating your life that way instead of what your parents wanted for you or what you think your neighbors want for you, all that bull crap. That's the first step in my opinion.
Right. How do we actualize that? Because that's kind of an overview. Like, what's the step? What's the first step for someone to? That's really hard because I was very abused as a child, and it took me having a lot of failed relationships, or I experienced abuse and stuff, and then I finally melted down and started establishing boundaries and recovering memories, even though they were painful, because if you face the pain, then you can move through it. Otherwise, it's just repressed and it becomes demonic. How do we actualize that? Because those are wonderful words, and yet how do we actualize that?
There's many ways, and it's multi-stepped, and that's what I help my clients with, is we just pick something. You can pick something really simple. I've actually met people who don't have hobbies. So a simple way to show love to yourself is engage in a hobby. Engage in something where you lose track of time.
Oh, that's an idea.
And it could be anything from playing an instrument to watercoloring to painting to gardening, something where you just literally are so engrossed with it that 2 hours goes by, you don't even realize it. This is a form of chant, and this is making your heart happy. That's a really easy way to start. But it really does change your energy. It's a big vibe seeker.
Yeah, I've met people, and I say, well, what do you do? What are you interested in? They go, nothing. There's nothing. Yeah, go ahead.
I find that a really a useful way to sometimes start is to say, imagine you're standing before an elevator in a building which has, like I'm 79, I'd be on the 79th floor. And you want to go down, if it's something in your past, get in the elevator and push a button to a place where a critical incident is occurring, one that by exploring it, you will be happier and the people around you will be happier. It will serve you and humanity. So that's one way. Or you could be in a holo chamber and you say, take me to any time, place, or experience that will further my evolution. And you can just do that. And then when you get to a place, you can say to yourself, I can now choose to enter one of these doors, and I can go out anytime it seems like it's too much for me. But to the degree that it's proper and safe for me to do so, I'd like to go in this room, and to the degree that it's proper and okay for me, I want to feel, see, hear, know everything that I thought and the other beings thought in this situation. And whenever it's too much, I'll just come out of it and remember what's in my interest to remember and forget for now what I'm not ready for. That's a good way to start.
Yeah. That's intense. And if I understood you correctly, it's to face something that you've been pushing down and to actually step out of it and then and then try and understand how the other people involved were also feeling. Is that what you said?
Yes. And so if it's something traumatic, you get a chance now in your adult body, if it was to happen in a child, to really express, first what did happen, and now you can express what you didn't express and express it more. And when you've catharted and let that feeling out, the next thing to do is to make an alternate program about how you would have liked it to come out, an alternate program that you can remember when you come out of this deep space, that you have a choice between the program that you really did take on and the alternate that you have. But what you really need to do is to remember that the part of you that blocked the experience thus far has served you, and it's keeping your ecology in balance. So you have both then, the repressed memory and the judgment about whether or not to share it and when and with whom.
So you mentioned, Sev, that you came to the United States as a young child, and you didn't speak a word of English, and then you were, how old were you when you were first, you were just put into school and you kind of like being thrown into the deep end of the pond, you had to figure out English, right? Did they help you?
It was. Well, when you're in first grade, it comes so fast. It comes really fast. I felt like I learned it overnight. Because I remember Christmas.
You have siblings?
I have a younger sister. She's a couple years younger than I am.
Okay, so your parents on some level knew that you would be able to, assimilate it and learn it rapidly because you were young enough.
I guess they thought that. My sister, I guess they thought that. I really don't know I just know that I really admire them for what they did. They left a really cushy, really super comfortable life to come to the United States of America. I mean, they're pioneers and trailblazers. They didn't know the English, or they didn't know the language.
Wow.
And I have some adventurous blood in me too, and I know I get it from them.
So what was their motivation for coming here? This is the American story. Here's all these people that have been coming for hundreds and hundreds of years. Mm-hmm. And what makes somebody leave a cushy life and go out on an adventure?
Right. So it wasn't because they were persecuted or, money or anything like that. That's a life that a lot of people would not want to leave. But my parents have always freedom of thought, the ability to think and say what you want. And so America was just the ultimate in that. You could come to America and do and say whatever you want and you're safe. You don't have to keep your mouth shut. You don't have to, you don't have to adhere to, societal rules or even religious rules as much in America. And both of my parents are extremely free thinkers, and so that was very appealing to them. And they wanted me to be raised in an environment where I was free to think and say and do as I pleased.
Right. So you've accomplished that. I think. I mean, look what you're doing, right?
Yeah.
So you have actualized their dream, the American dream. And you're talking on a radio show and writing books and presenting at conferences and doing.
Like that until you said that. Thank you. That's nice.
Mm-hmm. Are they still with us? Are they still alive?
My dad passed a couple years ago, and he came to me a few days after he passed. He came to me right in front of me when I was sitting in my living room, and he's also come to me in dream states. And so my mom's alive, and I have my sister, and about 99% of my family is still in Istanbul.
Now, when your dad came to you, tell us what was going on. What did that look like?
I was in Hawaii. As I said, my boyfriend was living on Kauai for a year, so I was with him, and I talked to my dad on the phone. He was in the hospital, and we said, I love you, and that was the last time I talked to him. He died. When I was in Hawaii, and I came home a couple days later, and we had just gotten home from the airport. We were on Capitol Hill in Washington, D.C. And I sat in my living room, and Patrick went upstairs to watch football. And I was sitting in my living room. All of a sudden, I could see the energy of everything better than ever. Like, I had some items on the table, some natural items that I had brought back from Hawaii, meaning shells and this and that and those kind of natural things. And the energy off of them was like flames of fire. I'm like, what is going on? And then the sound in the room, it got much louder, and I was hearing a variety of different pitches, like lots of different pitches of sound. And I'm looking at the cat, I'm like, something's going on. And then boom, he appeared right in front of me, this swirling ball of blue light. And I knew it was him, and we talked to each other in Turkish, and I had said to him, when you pass away, come and tell me what you're doing, And so the first thing he said to me was, you were right. There is life after death. You're absolutely right. And I'm doing great. And I said, I'm worried about my sister and how she's taking your death. And he goes, don't worry about her. She's going to be okay. And he said, I'm here to help you. I'm still with you. And that was a profound experience. He came in blue. And then I called my mom the next day, and I said, I saw him. And she said, I saw him too. He came to me in my dream, and he was a blue ball. I'm like, yeah, that's how he's traveling around, is a blue ball. Mm-hmm.
And so he's going to help you. How's he going to help you?
He pops in every now and then, giving me information or just as a support. I think he's really busy with my sister right now. I think he's spending more time with my sister. And with my mom. You know, it's interesting when our dead people come to us in a dream state, or even when we're completely awake and our eyes are open. They come in such a way that you can't deny it's them, like you know it's them because you know how they feel. And, you know, maybe other people won't believe you, but that doesn't matter. You know how that person feels, and it's inside of you. And that's a really nice feeling because they're always here. They're always here. Always, always. I like to think that every time I think about someone who's passed, that it's like, there's like this chain between me and that person, or like a bell, and like the little bell rings, and they're like, oh, I'm being thought of on Earth. Like they know. It's like, ding, oh, someone's thinking of me.
That's a nice way of putting it. Sasha, do you have any questions or comments? We have about...
yes, of course. Is that everyone that you've ever interacted with is in you, and the fractal of them is there for consultation. And they, just like every other part of you or part that resonant, is continuing to grow. And so consulting with people that you love who've passed over is a way of gaining a lot of knowledge.
Yes, and peace. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So you're getting invited. Okay, go ahead. You say what you want to say, and then I have a question. But go ahead.
Okay, I was just going to say that at the end of September, I'm giving this talk. Actually, I'm giving a few talks. The event is called The Universe Speaks, Talks to Empower You. And it's on September 28 in Annapolis, Maryland. And if you can't attend in person, you can attend virtually, which I'm excited about. Oh. And I'm 3 talks, and I also have someone coming to speak. Her name is Randy Botnick. She's an energy healer and an author. And she's going to be talking about the human energy grid and how you can rebalance your grid. I'm going to be talking about powerful manifestation and your paranormal abilities in the quantum world. So I'm going to be talking about my ET contact and how it activated my purpose, how you can use your personal energy to manifest. I'm going to be talking about the basic principles of quantum physics, how to fulfill your life's purpose, and how to use the law of alignment. And then my other talk's going to be about our quantum world and what that means, and traveling to parallel worlds, communicating with otherworldly beings, and how to strengthen your paranormal abilities like ESP and astral travel and telepathy, because we can all do that. There's nothing extraordinary or abnormal or special about people who can talk to the dead or anything like that. We can all do that. And so to get more information on that talk, I'm sorry to cut you off.
No, go ahead. No, go ahead.
On my website, planetsev.com, you can get more information and also purchase tickets.
Excellent. So, you said that we were going to teach people, what did you say about time traveling or traveling between planes?
Traveling to parallel.
Is that like, is that like astral projection or remote viewing? What?
That is included in part of it, yes. I'm going to be talking about astral travel and how you can do it and share a couple of my experiences. And in the video I made where I review the TV show Stranger Things, I talk about how they portray astral travel in that show. I think they do a really good job in portraying astral travel in that show.
But I have to go revisit this show. So how are they portraying astral travel in Stranger Things?
Well, the main character, which is the young girl named 11, or Elle, she was in this MILAB kind of environment. And so the way they show it is, it's really cool. It's just a scene. It's just the person or the people involved, and it's black all around them. And the floor, it has a little bit of water on it, so you can see waves and ripples. So it looks like you're in another frequency or another dimension. And the focus is just what's happening on that scene right there. And that's very much what astral travel looks like. Yes, you can pull out, and then you can see more of the room, you can see the house, you can see the state, you can see the country, you can go out into space. But a lot of times astral travel, when it first happens, it happens in a really focused, concentrated scene, and then you can pull out from there. And they do a really good job showing that.
Interesting. Yeah, I've been traveling all my life, but I wouldn't begin to know how to teach it to somebody. So you've kind of broken it down. Now, what's your percentage of success rate with people learning and being able to do it? Is it like everybody can do it, or some people do? What do you find?
So far, I've given a lot of classes on how to strengthen your paranormal abilities and on astral travel. Close your eyes and look at that there's like a movie screen in your eyes, your third eye. You can see a lot there. And so far, in every class I've taught, everyone in the class has been able to see something, hear something, or feel something. I mean, it's that natural for us to do. So sometimes it's just the time. It takes practice. You got to sit and do it and practice and relax. And so I create that environment so that people can come and then I can help them with it. And, learning this really makes life a lot easier because then you're plugged into information. You can make decisions a lot faster. You can make better decisions for yourself. It's very helpful. The more psychic or intuitive or the more you're tapped into your paranormal abilities, really life is actually a little easier.
So that's the event that's called The Universe Speaks. And you can get tickets. I'm looking at your site online here where people get the tickets. And then you're doing a second event?
No.
You said 2 events? No.
I'm giving 3 talks at that event. Yeah, 3 talks. Mm-hmm.
You're giving 3 talks at that event. Okay.
Yeah, it's all day.
Tell us a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
It's all day. Okay. And it's on a Saturday?
Yes.
One day, 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. and 10 in person or virtually in Annapolis, Maryland.
Yes.
Now, your book, You Have the Right to Talk to Aliens. What are some of the things you cover there? Do you have the chapters, the names of chapters? I'm trying to look and see how you break that down.
Yes. You want me to mention some of the chapters?
Yeah. Sounds good.
I go from my earliest remembrances where I talked about when I was 10 years old and this galactic being would come and see me. And I talk about our alien neighborhood. And then I describe some of the experiences that I've had. And I also have pictures and I have drawings in here. And I talk about my hypnosis. It's almost word for word. I share absolutely everything that happened in it. Because I figured, if I'm going to tell the truth, I might as well go ahead and tell the truth no matter how crazy I think it's going to sound. So that's a chapter that I really like a lot. And then I also talk about why I think they marked my butt, of all places. And
yes, we were talking about that earlier. Why do you think they marked your butt?
Well, other than getting my attention, I personally believe it has to do with my Kundalini energy. And there's a Kundalini energy that sits down there and that it's been activated. Right. Mm-hmm. And when your Kundalini is activated, certain things happen, like you need to know the truth. You need to know the truth about yourself. You need to know the truth about everything. Yeah. And you're very aware of how you're interconnected to everything. And you're also very aware of energy. And you're also you become very critical of what you want in your body, what you eat, what you drink, what your surroundings are, where you live, all that kind of stuff becomes important. And all of that has started to happen with me after those exits.
Sasha, your turn.
I love what you're saying, and it's really good advice. And that's stuff I was suggesting before. I mean, I went over it too fast. I just wanted to make it clear that when you do exploring, you always stop when the part of you that says, "Don't go there, sweetheart." What you do is you turn to that part metaphorically and say, "Part that says, don't go there. When did you come into my life, and how did you serve me then? And what are your interests in the present, and what needs would you like me to address?" So that cherish the part of you that says, "Don't go there," because it's got the key, and it's there to protect you from being overwhelmed.
So you're talking about having an ET contact or an astral projection or something that when you get
any kind of memory that will destabilize you, you have a choice about how deeply or you want to go in at any given time. You always come back to being the chooser.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But it's important to embrace both the part of you that wants to suppress and the part of you that wants to express, and not to always slavishly express or not slavishly repress, but rather to assess the situation and let it be a mix of whatever's best for the situation for you and the people you care about.
Yeah, sometimes we have to relearn how to make that choice because, like I said, a lot of us really ignore our needs. It's all about when you fall in love with yourself, when you're expressing your love for yourself, you pay attention to your needs. And because I have clients who said, well, I was meditating, Sev, and all of a sudden this portal opened up in front of me. I could see it. It was like this tunnel, and I was afraid to go in. I'm like, okay, well, what were you afraid of? Well, I don't know. I was just afraid to go in. I'm like, okay, well, the next time that portal opens up in your meditation, just stand there and just take a deep breath and say, okay, how does this portal feel? Like literally, how does the energy coming out of this portal feel to me? Does it feel loving? Does it feel warm? Does it feel exciting? Feel the energy of the portal and then go with that instead of just freaking out that this portal opened up in front of you. You don't know what to do. Is that what you were talking about, Sasha?
That's partly it, but the additional thing is a part of me that says beware, be careful, this might be dangerous. I would immediately say, part that says careful, beware, this might be dangerous. when did you first come into my life, and what was the situation that brought you to my attention, and what are your interests right now? What should I be aware of? What do you need me to look at? In other words, to embrace the part that interrupts and get its permission before you go deep, so that you're choosing what level of destabilization or stabilization you want at this particular time. That's what I mean.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Right. So you revisit something where you were taught to be fearful.
Exactly.
Of a new experience. Mm-hmm.
And if you're going to follow the whole thing through, is you give yourself an alternate program for when you next encounter something that reminds you of that situation energetically, so that you have more choice than you had before you had this experience. The whole idea is to put yourself more and more in the chooser and take more and more of your aspects, especially the shadow aspects, into consideration without overwhelming yourself so much that you can't function.
Right. So are you saying find the balance?
Exactly.
Yeah. Right. That's good.
But Janet's asked me to say my stuff, but I already know mine. I'm more interested in yours because you have a really interesting way of expressing it.
Right. We're down to our last minute. Go ahead, Sev. What would you like to tell our listeners, your website, and that type of thing?
Oh, okay. Thank you very much. Well, basically, I just want people to know that there's millions of us that are having ET contact, and that.
And that's the end of our show. Planet Sev.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for coming. Planet Sev. Much love and blessings.
Aloha.
Aloha.
Radio at freedomslips.com, and we'll be right back after this message.
Narco-syndicalist commune. We take it in turns to act as a sort of executive officer for the week. Yes. But all the decisions of that officer have to be ratified at a special bi-weekly meeting. Yes, I see. By a civil majority in the case of purely internal affairs. Be quiet. But by a 2/3 majority in the case of more major... Be quiet. I order you to be quiet. Look, you stupid bastard, you've got no arms left. Yes, I have. Look! It's just a flesh wound.
I don't believe I've seen such a display of courage, skill, nerve, grace, stupidity.
I'll do you for that. Oh, what? Come here. What are you going to do, bleed on me? I'm invincible. You're a loony. The Black Knight always triumphs.
Roundtable Live, Monday through Friday, 1 a.m. till 4 a.m. Eastern Time. Bring your mind, bring your ideas, bring your voice. King Arthur had nothing on us here at Revolution Radio, freedomslips.com.
Oscar's freeze. That's your cerebral cortex looking for an answer it doesn't have.
See? Even your brain knows you're screwed.
The body's filling with adrenaline right now, whether you know it or not. Your heart's beating fast. It's getting a little harder to breathe. The neurobiological system is telling you to run, but your knees are too weak to move.
Fear is not real. The only place that fear can exist is in our thoughts of the future. It is a product of our imagination, causing us to fear things that do not at present and may not ever exist. That is near insanity. Do not misunderstand me. Danger is very real, but fear is a choice. We are all telling ourselves a story.
You're listening to Revolution Radio at freedomslips.com. 100% listener-supported radio. Reporting to danger. Unafraid. Right here, where information never sleeps. Revolution Radio.
The original machine had a base plate of prefamulated amulite, surmounted by a malleable logarithmic casing, in such a way that the two spurving bearings were in a direct line with a panometric